For the first time in Oxnard, California in 2022, the pads are on. The physicality is back. It's the first padded practice and another installment of Inside Cowboys Training Camp driven by Ford. Alongside Rob Phillips and Britt Johnson, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. Rob, let's go through it. The physicality, the clicking, the clacking of the pads was back today. What stood out to you?
It's like the main course of this five-star experience that we've got in Oxnard for a month. We finally get to it, and, guys are ready for it. DeMarcus Lawrence said, I don't know if he said patty cake, but it was something like that in the first part of training camp, those first few days where they're not in pads, and you understand why, because it's a ramp-up period. They want to avoid soft tissue injuries, but you're right. There's physicality. That's what guys want. That's what football is, and that's what it felt like out there. And it's a good opportunity to evaluate, especially young linemen on both sides of the ball. That's what Mike McCarthy was looking for today.
Especially this offensive line. People have been wondering what this offensive line is going to do, and we couldn't really tell until we see them in pads. Today, how did they fare?
They looked good. I thought it was a good day for the offense, particularly the first-team offense, Britt, in passing situations. I thought Dak Prescott had some time to make some things happen down the field. And then they worked on some individual things as well, some combo blocks, kind of getting the fundamentals down, getting the pre-snap cadence down. And you saw some young guys show up. You saw Tyler Smith show up on a couple blocks, a pancake block on a run play, and some other nice blocks as well, rotating in that left guard spot that he's trying to win over Connor McGovern here in camp.
So you mentioned a little bit earlier when we were talking about putting the pads back on, and there's that physicality that you want to see. These players live for that. However, it is also an opportunity for injuries to arise. There were a couple guys that left the field today. Let's start with James Washington. What did you see there, and is there any update moving into the afternoon?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're taping right after practice. What we know is it sounds like it's a foot injury. He was working on a jump ball play down the field with Trayvon Diggs, came up limping, tried to kind of walk it off, and then wound up they brought the cart out. And that's unfortunate. We don't know the severity as of this taping, but he's a guy that they're going to ask to do a lot this year, especially early on with Michael Gallup probably not ready for week one coming off the ACL. So if he's going to miss some time, Jalen Tolbert now it's his turn to step up as a rookie third-round draft pick.
That's huge because, like you said, already a thin depth chart at wide receiver. Not so thin at safety, and they had Jayron Kearse leave the field earlier, but it looked like he was okay.
Yeah, those are the moments you hold your breath on. A Pro Bowl caliber player, he said he just kind of tweaked something real quick, came back out within a couple minutes, and was back in team drills. So, breathe a sigh of relief, Cowboys Nation.
Yeah, that was pretty big. He went down, got up, went to the locker room, and then very quickly, it was very brief of a stint in the locker room, came back, and he got back on the field, and he finished the rest of practice, so not even any limitations in that regard. Special thanks to Rob Phillips for joining us here on this first segment of Inside Cowboys Training Camp. When we come back, what does the toolbox look like for Sam Williams as a rookie edge rusher for the Cowboys?
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas. This segment is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
In the second round of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys elected to put some youthful speed from the edge rusher spot on the roster. Sam Williams out of Ole Miss, who set the single-season sack record for the Rebels this past season, now a Dallas Cowboy and trying to add to his toolbox in his rookie season.
Cowboys second-round draft pick Sam Williams knows all about working hard to get where you need to be. As a product of junior college prior to earning a spot at Ole Miss to becoming a second-round draft choice, the path to success is all about building.
Like when I came here, I just emptied we call it a toolbox, meaning I just empty it, basically I don't know anything, and I fill it up with the knowledge and the stuff that I've learned over the break, that I learned from the trainers, that I learned from defensive specialists, DQ. So and now it's like my toolbox is getting full. So in the game time, whichever tool I need, I'm gonna use it at the time.
Sam Williams may get knowledge from his coaches and teammates like DeMarcus Lawrence and Dorrance Armstrong, but at the end of the day, the best way to thrive in the NFL is taking that knowledge and being the best version of yourself.
To be honest, I don't look at anybody like past records, I just try to be the best version of me. Like, I'm beating me. If I beat me and I go out and compete every day, then everything else gonna handle itself. As long as the team win, I win.
So lots of excitement around Sam Williams, lots of excitement from his standpoint as well, as he's ready to get going. And with the first day of pads now in the books, I mean, he's going to bring some speed and really a lot of the measurables that Micah Parsons brought to the table.
Well, and intensity, let's add to that. He had a little scuffle today, but it's what I love about football. It's the aggressiveness. It's, you know, we're playing with pads on right now, and they are excited about it, and they're ready to hit each other again. So that's kind of like what I like to see when the guys get their pads back on. Get in a little tussle with each other. He got in a tussle a couple times today, and I thought it was great.
Mike McCarthy talked about it in his opening press conference. He was like, this is going to ramp up very quickly.
Yes.
Also, not to mention Osa Odigizua, we were just talking to him a couple moments before shooting the show, and he said it's what we live for. This
Exactly.
is back to normal for us, because normally whenever you're a defensive lineman and you're not with the pads on, you have to hold back a little bit. It's 100% from here on out, and that's a big thing for this Cowboys defensive line if they're going to be a well-oiled unit, right?
Absolutely. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this defense does. And again, like we said in this first segment, we got a chance to see this offensive and defensive line for the first time really in training camp, because they actually get to hit each other now.
Let's talk about the offensive line. What is Tyler Biotis going to do in year 3 that really makes him the anchor of the Cowboys front when we return with more Inside Cowboys Training Camp driven by Ford?
This segment was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
You have to push yourself to exhaustion to be able to see what is on the other side of who you are at a starting point. So when I came into 2020 and who I am now, I am a different person. I am stronger. I am confident. I'm more than I was then. So, but it takes a lot of mental toughness and obviously physical toughness, but a lot of mental toughness to be confident in what you do every single day. And like you guys said before, like Zach and Tyron, they drive the bus. I mean, and they do a great job of being leaders on this team, and you know, they do a great job of keeping that rich history and providing a knowledge for me to do the same as when I'm leading on the team too.
There you hear from Tyler Biotis, brought to you by Sleep Number. Alongside Britt Johnson, I'm Kyle Yeomans. And with Biotis entering year 3 of his NFL career, he's had some ups and some downs, but really last year was a growth year at center for Biotis, a player that is a little bit smaller for the position, but has really shown some growth and was allowed to really fill in some of the gaps last season.
Well, and especially he was actually our only O-line guy that started all 17 games last year. He did have the second highest penalties with 9, so that's the troublesome area that I think most people are worried about. We don't want to have those penalties, obviously, on offense, but I think this year we'll really see a difference in him, hopefully. So, I mean, so far today, he looked good. He was very sound in his footwork, and I think that that's going to be a good thing moving forward for the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm not too worried about it. Young guys need those moments to kind of like push through and figure it out, and hopefully he did that in year 3.
Now, with having a competition, an open competition to his left, do you feel like having guys like Tyler Smith and Connor McGovern growing into their own will help him out to kind of anchor that offensive line?
Absolutely. I think when you have guys kind of come behind you, you kind of get into almost a leader mode, and you start, you know, acting a little bit different and start teaching the game as well. So him having those penalties and now teaching other guys not to have that situation, I think hopefully should help.
It should help, and hopefully with the offensive line getting the pads on, Mike McCarthy said there's an added emphasis in making sure you don't have any more penalties along the way. You got to find a way to get the job done. That's going to do it for us here on Inside Cowboys Training Camp driven by Ford. For Britt Johnson, I'm Kyle Yeomans. We'll see you tomorrow from Oxnard.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp presented by Ford was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas.